I never thought I'd end up working as a janitor in my own family's company. Well, technically it wasn't my family's company, it was my father's, but nobody knew that. Not even my stuck-up aunt and uncle who ran the day-to-day operations thinking they owned everything. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Sarah Chen, and my story begins with my father, James Chen, a brilliant businessman who built Chen Enterprises from nothing. But unlike most success stories, my father chose to stay in the shadows. He had his reasons, and I never questioned them until that fateful day everything changed. Growing up, we lived modestly in a small apartment above Dad's hardware store, his first business and the only one everyone knew about. "Stay humble, Sarah," he'd always say. "True power isn't about showing off. It's about understanding people at every level." I didn't realize then that he was preparing me for something bigger. When I turned 18, Dad sat me down for a serious conversation. "Sarah, there's something you need to know," he said, pulling out a thick folder. "I don't just own the hardware store. I'm the majority owner of Chen Enterprises." My jaw dropped. Chen Enterprises was one of the largest companies in our state, employing thousands of people. "But everyone thinks Uncle Robert and Aunt Linda own it," I said, confused. Dad smiled that wise smile of his. "They manage it, thinking they built it themselves. They don't know I bought the company through a holding corporation years ago. I let them believe they're in charge because..." He paused. "Well, you'll understand why soon enough." That's when he proposed his crazy plan. He wanted me to work in the company, starting from the bottom, without anyone knowing who I really was. "Learn every aspect of the business," he said. "See how people treat others when they think no one's watching. Then you'll know who deserves to lead." So there I was, 22 years old, fresh out of business school, where I graduated top of my class, though nobody at Chen Enterprises knew that, working as a janitor. I took the name Sarah Lai, claiming no relation to the Chen family. For 2 years, I cleaned offices, organized supply closets, and watched. I watched how Uncle Robert took credit for other people's ideas. I saw how Aunt Linda fired people just before their benefits kicked in. I witnessed their son, my cousin Michael, harass female employees while his parents covered it up, all while thinking they owned the place. But I also saw the good ones, like Maria in accounting, who stayed late helping others with their work without asking for credit. Or John in maintenance, who used his own money to buy better safety equipment for his team when management refused. I kept detailed notes of everything, just like Dad taught me. Then came the day of the quarterly board meeting. I was cleaning the conference room as usual when Aunt Linda stormed in early. "What are you still doing here?" she snapped, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. "Board meeting's about to start. This is for important people only." I continued wiping down the table. "Just finishing up, Mrs. Chen." Uncle Robert walked in, already red-faced from his 3-martini lunch. "Oh, it's the janitor girl," he sneered. "You know, I always wondered, didn't you go to college or something? Couldn't make it in the real world, huh?" I kept my face neutral, just as Dad had taught me. "Yes, sir. Business major." That made them laugh. "Business major. Hear that, Linda? We've got a regular CEO cleaning our toilets." "Well," Aunt Linda said, adjusting her pearl necklace, "I suppose someone needs to teach these entitled young people their place. Not everyone can be successful like us." I gathered my cleaning supplies, maintaining my calm exterior while my blood boiled inside. That's when my cousin Michael swaggered in, reeking of expensive cologne. "Hey, janitor girl," he called out, blocking my path to the door. "Why don't you stay? You can serve us coffee and maybe we can discuss your career opportunities later." He winked, making my skin crawl. "That's enough, Michael," Aunt Linda said, not out of concern for me but for appearances. "She's the janitor's daughter. We don't mix with those people." "Actually," I said quietly, "I should stay. I'm supposed to attend this meeting." The room erupted in laughter. "Oh, this is rich." Uncle Robert wiped tears from his eyes. "The janitor's daughter thinks she belongs in a board meeting." "This is for real family only," Aunt Linda said coldly. "Know your place and leave." I looked around the room, memorizing their smug faces. "As you wish," I said, heading for the door. "But you might want to delay the meeting for about 30 minutes. "And why's that?" Uncle Robert called after me. I turned back with a small smile. "Because the CEO was running late." "We're right here, you stupid girl," Aunt Linda snapped. "Are you?" I asked softly, closing the door behind me. I took the elevator to the ground floor, wheeling my cleaning cart into the supply closet for the last time. Then I went to the bathroom, opening the small duffel bag I'd stashed there earlier. Inside was a crisp business suit, Armani, Dad's gift for this special day. 10 minutes later, I stood in the lobby, transformed from the humble janitor to the polished businesswoman I'd been trained to be. Right on schedule, Dad walked through the front doors, looking impeccable in his custom suit. "Ready?" he asked, offering his arm. I took a deep breath, thinking of all the hard-working employees who deserve better leadership. Ready. As we walked to the elevator, I couldn't help but smile, imagining the looks on their faces when they learned the truth. The real storm was about to begin. The elevator ride to the top floor felt like ascending to a battlefield. Dad squeezed my hand reassuringly, just like he used to do before my school presentations. But this was no school presentation. This was about to be the most dramatic moment of my life. "Remember," Dad said quietly, "stay calm no matter what they say. True power is in control." The elevator doors opened and we could already hear the chaos from the conference room. Aunt Linda's shrill voice carried down the hallway. "Where is everyone? The other board members should be here by now." Dad checked his watch and smiled. "Right on time. The real board members should be arriving now." As if on cue, the elevator behind us opened and out stepped 5 distinguished-looking individuals. The actual board of directors, hand-picked by my father years ago. They all nodded respectfully to Dad, then to me before heading toward the conference room. "Shall we?" Dad gestured forward. I took one last deep breath and nodded. It was showtime. The look on Uncle Robert's face when Dad walked into the room was priceless. He went from red to white to slightly green in the span of seconds. Aunt Linda's jaw dropped so far, I thought it might hit her expensive pearls. "J. James?" Uncle Robert stammered. "What are you doing here? You run the hardware store." "Hello, Robert," Dad said calmly, taking his seat at the head of the table. "Linda, Michael, I believe it's time we had a proper family meeting." "Family meeting?" Aunt Linda's voice went up an octave. "What is she doing here?" She pointed at me like I was something she found stuck to her designer shoe. I smiled, taking the seat to Dad's right. "Well, Aunt Linda, I work here, remember?" "As a janitor," Michael spat. "Security. We need security in here." "I wouldn't do that if I were you," one of the board members, Mr. Harrison, spoke up. "Considering Ms. Chen here is your boss." The room went deadly silent. You could have heard a pin drop. What is he talking about?" Uncle Robert's voice trembled. Dad leaned forward, placing his hands on the table. "Let me explain something. 25 years ago, when you two came to me begging for help with your failing business, I saw an opportunity. Instead of just giving you a loan, I bought the company through my holding corporation. You've been working for me this entire time." "That's impossible," Aunt Linda shrieked. "We built this company from nothing. We made it successful." "Did you?" I asked, opening my laptop. "Let's review some interesting numbers, shall we? In the past 2 years alone, you've embezzled approximately $2.3 million through fake consultant fees. You fired 47 employees just days before their benefits would kick in. And let's not forget the sexual harassment complaints against Michael that you've been covering up." Michael lunged forward, but security, the real security team that reported directly to Dad, was faster. They were already positioned by the doors, having entered silently during the chaos. "You can't prove any of this," Uncle Robert snarled, but his shaking hands betrayed his fear. "Actually, we can," Dad said, nodding to Mr. Harrison, who started distributing thick folders to everyone present. "Every transaction, every fired employee, every complaint. It's all here. Documented, verified, and ready for legal action if necessary." Aunt Linda started to cry, her makeup running down her face. "But we're family. You can't do this to family." "Family?" I stood up, my voice steady but filled with controlled anger. "Was it family when you made Maria from accounting work overtime without pay? Was it family when you fired John from maintenance for requesting better safety equipment? Was it family when you treated me, your own niece, like garbage for 2 years? You were spying on us?" Michael looked like he might be sick. "No, Michael. I was learning exactly how you treat people when you think you have power over them. Learning who deserves to lead this company and who doesn't." Dad stood up, his presence commanding everyone's attention. Robert, Linda, as of this moment, you're both terminated from your positions at Chen Enterprises. Michael, you're not only fired, but will be cooperating fully with the pending criminal investigation into your behavior. You can't fire us. Uncle Robert roared, standing up so fast his chair fell backward. We'll fight this. We'll go to court. Please do, I said sweetly, pulling out one final document. By the way, remember that contract you signed last month? The one about the company restructuring that you didn't bother to read properly? Their faces showed dawning horror. That contract included a clause about immediate termination without compensation in case of proven financial misconduct. I continued. It also included a non-compete clause and a requirement to repay any misappropriated funds. Oh, and you might want to check your company accounts. They've already been frozen. Aunt Linda collapsed into her chair, sobbing openly now. Michael stormed toward the door, but was stopped by security. Uncle Robert just stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. You have until the end of the day to clear out your offices, Dad said firmly. Security will escort you. And if you're wondering about the board meeting, it already happened this morning. The vote was unanimous. Sarah is the new CEO of Chen Enterprises, effective immediately. As security led them out, their protests echoing down the hallway, I couldn't help but think about all the employees who had suffered under their leadership. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. Well, Dad said, turning to the board members with a smile, shall we discuss our plans for the company's future? But before we could continue, my phone buzzed with an urgent message. Something was happening in the lobby, something that would make this dramatic day even more explosive. The urgent message was from Maria in accounting. You need to come to the lobby now. Your aunt is telling all the employees they're being fired. People are panicking. I exchanged a quick look with Dad. Go, he said. Show them what kind of leader you really are. Taking the elevator down, I could hear the chaos before the doors opened. Aunt Linda's voice rang through the lobby. That's right, everyone's fired. My brother-in-law and his janitor daughter are destroying this company. The lobby was packed with worried employees. Some were crying, others were angrily making phone calls. In the center of it all stood Aunt Linda, her mascara-streaked face twisted with rage, still wearing her designer suit but looking somehow smaller without her power. We built this company, she was shouting, and now they're throwing everyone out. All because of that sneaky little spy. I stepped out of the elevator, my head held high. The room gradually fell silent as people recognized me. Not as the quiet janitor anymore, but as someone different. Someone in charge. Actually, I said, my voice carrying across the lobby, no one's being fired except the people who've been stealing from this company and mistreating its employees. Sarah? Maria pushed through the crowd, looking confused. What's going on? I smiled at her, my first genuine smile in this building. Let me introduce myself properly. I'm Sarah Chen, daughter of James Chen, the true owner of Chen Enterprises. And as of today, I'm your new CEO. The lobby erupted in murmurs. I held up my hand for silence. For the past 2 years, I've worked alongside all of you as a janitor, not to spy, but to learn. I learned who stays late to help their colleagues without asking for credit. I nodded at Maria, who blushed. I learned who spends their own money to keep their team safe. I smiled at John from maintenance, and I learned who treats people with respect regardless of their position. This is ridiculous, Aunt Linda shrieked. You can't possibly. Security, I interrupted calmly. Please escort Mrs. Chen out of the building. Her access has been revoked. As security led her away, still screaming about betrayal, I turned back to the employees. I understand you're worried. Change is scary. But I promise you this, the only people leaving today are those who have abused their power. In fact, I pulled out my tablet. I have some announcements to make. First, effective immediately, all employees will receive a 15% raise to match market rates. The money my aunt and uncle embezzled will be redirected to employee benefits. Gasps and excited whispers filled the lobby. Second, we're implementing all the safety improvements that John recommended. No more cutting corners on worker safety. John's maintenance team broke into applause. Third, Maria is our new head of finance, assuming she accepts the position. I turned to her. You've been doing the job unofficially for years anyway. Time you got the title and salary to match. Maria's eyes filled with tears as her colleagues congratulated her. And finally, I continued, We're establishing an open-door policy. Every employee will have direct access to management. No more harassment, no more intimidation, no more fear of speaking up." The lobby erupted in cheers. As I looked at the smiling faces around me, I felt Dad's hand on my shoulder. He'd come down to witness this moment. "Well done," he whispered. But we weren't quite finished. That evening, as employees were leaving work with renewed hope, Uncle Robert made one last desperate attempt. He barged into my new office, waving papers. "I found proof," he shouted. "Proof that James acquired this company illegally. We're taking this to court." I stayed calm, remembering Dad's lessons. "You mean these documents?" I held up identical copies. "The ones showing how you and Aunt Linda were planning to sell the company to a known criminal enterprise to cover your gambling debts?" His face went pale. "Yes, Uncle Robert, we know about the underground casino, the loans, everything. So here's what's going to happen. You'll sign this agreement promising to never contact this company or its employees again. In return, we don't press criminal charges." "You're blackmailing me," he sputtered. "No, Uncle Robert. I'm protecting this company and its people, something you should have been doing all along." After he left, defeated, Dad joined me at the window. The sun was setting over the city, casting a golden glow across the skyline. "You know," he said, "when I started this company, I dreamed of building something that would last generations, something that would make a difference in people's lives. Watching you today, I realized my dream came true, just not in the way I expected." I hugged him tight, remembering the little hardware store above which we used to live. "Thank you for teaching me that true power isn't about wealth or position. It's about how you treat people," he finished. 1 year later, Chen Enterprises was transformed. Our employee satisfaction rates were at an all-time high, productivity had increased by 40%, and our ethical business practices were being studied by business schools. Maria turned out to be a brilliant CFO, implementing transparency measures that became industry standards. John revolutionized our safety protocols, reducing workplace incidents to near zero. Even the janitors, my former colleagues, were now shareholders in the company. As for my aunt, uncle, and cousin, last I heard, they'd moved to another state, telling anyone who would listen about their ungrateful niece who stole their company. But their words couldn't touch me anymore. Sometimes, when I'm working late, I still grab a mop and clean alongside the evening janitorial staff. It raises eyebrows among visiting executives, but I don't care. It reminds me of where I started and why I'm here. After all, true success isn't measured by the power you hold, but by how you use that power to lift others up. That's the real family business.